still a pretty 50-50 matchup, but we will see. Ladies and gentlemen, let us jump into the Land of Dawn for the very first game of MWI 2025 Gaming Gladiators versus Navi MY.
We'll start things off strong. A lot of damage taken by Ramoon, able to walk out of the way with the Revitalize. But now Navi MY showing that they're getting pushed back. GG, starting things strong, starting things very aggressively. That's what you get when you have a Sayori with a Kimmy in that mid lane, and Ashley taking control of the momentum in the early game.
Yeah, this Kalea makes a big difference actually. We already talked about how the early Pharsa pick was for Navi to make sure they had mid lane priority, but the Kimmy-Kalea combination just does so much damage at level 1, and then the Kalea passive offers you much better trading, means that Gaming Gladiators has actually regained control over that part of the map. This makes early jungle invades impossible and gives Nicolette a bit more space to play around Rina.
Yeah, we're talking about late game. Look at the level difference so far from the Lancelot and the Fredrin. Rina got the level 3 much earlier than the Fredrin, so Nicolette has to buy some time, play towards the late game, try to go towards the objectives. You don't want to play lane to lane kind of aggressions and as well as clashes. So I think for Navi MY, try to play more passively, try to deny that late game potential that Gaming Gladiators can bring up. Taking a look at emblems, is there anything that speaks out to you, Sadafa?
Looking at the emblem setup overall, there's nothing too unusual. Weakness Finder on Sayori means that they are leaning more towards late game scaling. Otherwise, it would be Quantum Charge to take advantage of more mid-game pressure. We also have Sprint on Panda, so not going for that Purify since Gaming Gladiators know they are much more superior in terms of crowd control, even forcing 2 Purify takes on Navi instead.
First turn of the game, Nicolette's already in position. Aria level 4, waiting to use that final slash. They will knock up 2 members. Ramoon is actually knocked up to the sky for airstrike to zone Nicolette out of the way. Won't be able to take her out as Gaming Gladiators take 1 kill, and Navi MY secures the turtle.
Fairly 50-50 there. Trading first blood for the turtle is not too bad either way, but Gaming Gladiators definitely had a better positioning overall. I think Raymond was hoping to be able to just buy time for Rina to get the turtle, but Lancelot early really doesn't do all that much damage, so it took longer than expected. And now looks like we are going to be jumping into a very quick pause to resolve some technical difficulties.
Yeah. To be honest though, I think Gaming Gladiators was not actually looking for the objective takes, because right now it's more of like, let's trade for kills, let's trade for turrets, and I think for Gaming Gladiators in the late game, that's going to be a huge problem, especially since you have sort of like a better scaling on that Lancelot for damage-wise, and you have the passive rework that Lancelot enables Lancelot to just dash around as and when she wants. So this time around, for Navi, are they looking to set up the aggression? Will they look for more kills and try to deny Nicolette from getting that late game Fredrin intimidation?
In one word, yes. Looking at the way these compositions interact, Navi MY is the team that requires a little bit more overall initiative. They do have okay late game scaling, but it's a lot more conditional compared to Gaming Gladiators because they have that Kimmy, they have that Iritel, they have heroes who can very easily deny the feathered airstrike, which is going to be one of Navi's main tools once you get into that late game stage. So Navi MY really cannot afford to allow Gaming Gladiators to get the farm they're looking for, and that's why GG, aware of this, doesn't need to commit too hard into getting those neutral objectives.
To be honest, what I noticed about Navi MY was that they actually adapted to the use of the additional speed buff from the river whenever the turtle spawns up or the objective spawns up. With the Pharsa, with the Gato Gacha, they're able to just get into position much faster than what Gaming Gladiators can do. And Nicolette slowly picking up the pace, and I'm looking at that jungle clear speed, especially from Navi MY. You already have level 5, so Nicolette is actually really holding up well against that Lancelot. Now on the other side of the table though, what do you think of the EXP to EXP lane matchup?
Well, on paper, CC should be able to do quite well, but after the recent buffs, Arlet is actually capable of sustaining himself in lane. We can see that Sha going for the lane freeze instead. I think that's a very smart choice.
Nicolette dives in, getting taunted up. Airstrike try to push everyone back. Nice Tsunami Slam into the wall, over the wall, and AOG out of the way. Ramoon playing with death just a little bit more as Gaming Gladiators almost taking one down.
Yeah, that was actually really good spacing of cooldowns coming in from Gaming Gladiators. They didn't commit all of their abilities at once to try and burst Ramon down because they know that Gatot is not going to go down that easily. They space it out. They're able to get him out of the feathered airstrike. But then they decided, okay, we do not need to commit on this. Let us just go and play the map instead.
It's a little bit of a slow movement. You got Ramon trying desperately to give a little bit more vision. Ooh. No AOG though. It's Sayori forced to get the flicker out of the way. Arena, she wants to kill him with kindness, but Rina woke up one day and said, I'm gonna choose violence this time around.
Really well played from Raymond right there. You get engaged on instantly. The unbreakable two-man taunt sets up for the feathered airstrike, and Rina is able to chase down a very important target. The more they can delay the farm on Sayori, the more time Navi MI will have to play around. Because once you get into the late game scaling, this Kimmy is going to become their biggest problem.
Scoreline, economy, equalized as of now. You can see a lot of rotations coming in from Gaming Gladiators. Panda is actually trying to go over to the mid lane, trying to get as much funneling economy into herself as possible. We're starting things up onto that turtle. Haney uses the airstrike, trying to kick things up. Nice little flare, the final slash onto Haney, but able to use the wings to get out of the way. In deep, Arya, one more hit, might be able to go down. Nice little swing and a slash. Rina actually takes one down after another. That's 1-for-1 for both sides. The turtle getting dished, getting dodged. Ramon is just waiting for her inevitable doom.
That was excellent adjustment from Gaming Gladiators. When the fight started, it was almost 100% going to be won out by Navi MY, but I think Rina might have missed a puncture, and that ended up costing them a lot of their damage. Gaming played it slow, backed up into their front-to-back positioning, and used the passive from Kalea to actually prolong the fight, in which they would have the obvious advantage. Trading Arya to get a free turtle and a kill onto the CC already sets up Gaming Gladiators exactly where they want to be.
This is the issue, right? You get a final slash, hold on a second. Fair airstrike won't be able to take Arya out just to zone her away, but you know, the fair airstrike doesn't really matter as much. You got a tsunami slam into the wall. Sha able to dash out of the way. They're focusing fire on that turret. They need to take that T1 down up the top side. Nicolette trying to zone out the members. Haney and Ramon can't even get close. They take on that T1 and they get out of the way. That's a drive-by from Gaming Gladiators.
I'm really liking the rotations from Gaming right now. Playing the map, going for structures. Against them actually, so that's something they'll have to keep in mind. But now Raymond
does have the AOG, so he is safe as Revitalize keeps her up and alive for now. Now, focusing fire, they have that 5-minute kind of a composition turnaround as Arya on 1v1 against Rina. So Arya should be the answer for the late game side lane split push. So you want to send that R-Lot over to the side lanes to maintain that priority over these major objective takes. Is that enough though, Sidafa?
I think it's more than enough. Gaming Gladiators should just win out team fights once you get into the late game because they just have so many more tools to play around with. They don't even need to fully commit to the macro necessarily as long as they set up the map advantageously in the earlier stages. When we look at their itemization as well, I actually kind of like that there were two Dreadnoughts on Arya and Nicolette. There was actually no magic defense itemization because they know they can cancel Feathered Airstrike really easily.
Conceal play, just to scare them away, as right now the two marksmen down the mid side as well. Oh, Arya starting things up. Vengeance trying to pull them over for airstrike, trying to save Sha from harm's way, getting pulled back. Sayori takes up that kill. Ramon stuck in the middle, waiting for an inevitable doom. Nicolette will pick up that kill, but from the back line, you have Rina trying to dash, weave, swiping away. Will not get any kills whatsoever. Gaming Gladiators still up on top. Sayori down low, almost taken out as they win out on another trade. But here's the kicker though, and Navi MY still up ahead in terms of economy. What's happening, Sidafa?
And they're still farming the map pretty well because we have to know Gaming Gladiators have a lot of tools, but that also means that their heroes need multiple members around to make use of those tools. The fact that they're rotating together quite closely means that they're not farming the map quite as effectively. I imagine Fao Fao actually has quite a lot of gold at this point because this Hardif has just chosen not to participate in any engagement. Oh,
coming in, Haney doesn't have the wings by wings, able to walk and prance out of the way. Nicolette taking a little bit damage, but they are not targeting onto that turtle. Arya getting ganked on by two, down the bottom side. Sha trying his best, but Arya actually gets away from harm's way. This is the turtle getting decimated and the Lord getting coming up into fray. Navi MY able to zone out into this one. Gaming Gladiators, what is their play?
I think they can take this slowly. They're trying to force something out. I'm not sure about it though.
Oh, Ashley taking a little bit too much damage. Tsunami Slam gets her out and safe out of the way. But you have Aria chasing onto Haney, taking a lot of damage, not able to get out of the way, and she goes down. Gaming Gladiators loses one, and I don't think this Lord will be contestable by GG.
And literally right after I said it, slow it down. You do not need to force things out. Game-In has tools to pick off members of Na'Vi, but they basically walked into the artillery line there. Feathered Airstrike comes down, they're all grouped up together, and then Aria tries to force herself into the backline to get some sort of pick-off when the rest of GG is already backing up.
It's a lot of damage, but I don't think they care. Navi MY just using their bodies to source for more information. A little bit of a reconnaissance party here for Na'Vi, and vision is all they need, because now Gaming Gladiators, they're working hard as a unit and ape strong together. As the girls, they're starting things up again. Gets Tsunami Slam into the wall. Fair Strike try to push everyone back out of the way. Sayori into deep foul right from the flank. Finds Sayori, takes her out. You got the Xayman Force as well. Aria, no dashes, no way of escape. Down they go. 2 members down for GG, and they're sounding the alarm, pulling the trigger. Ashley just delaying her inevitable doom. No more Tsunami Slam, and she goes slam into the graveyard.
No, that is not how you want to take the fight right now as Gaming Gladiators. They're not following their front-to-back lineup. They're trying to force things out. I'm honestly seeing some gaps in communication here where some players are trying to make things happen, but the rest of the team isn't actually following up on it. Are they making the call? Are they just not prepared? Either way, it is costing them dearly, and Navi MY have now built up a pretty sizable gold lead. They have a Lord on their side. Gaming cannot afford to make mistakes like that anymore.
Fafao is actually coming up online. 2-0-3 for this Harif. We all thought that, you know, it's a gone case for Harif because of the adjustments in the previous patch. But right now, Fafao is actually showing us that Harith is still relevant whenever she comes into the team fights. That is it. I don't think it's also like the main damage from the Harith itself, but also the way that she positions herself. She doesn't show herself up until she knows that she can secure a kill. Taking a look at the mid-game itemizations, what are your thoughts, Adafa?
I think it's very greedy of Sayori to go for a Sky Piercer second item when they're not really that much in the lead. Hani has not actually died yet, already has the Genius Wand. We do see the Brute Force Breastplate, so Lancelot going for more of the Semi-Bruiser build, and that is allowing Na'Vi to really prolong these fights even though they are dealing with a Kalea. You can really see the healing nerf come in.
Oh, Aria tackled on by 4. She will fall in the process as GG. They're losing their composition. They're losing their minds over this one. They're running around like hitless chickens. You have a loose member from Navi MY up on top. Rina doing and making quick work off the long lane. As Gaming Gladiators, they're struggling on that defense. They're starting things up yet again. 2-man Traction Pulse into the fray as they pull someone back in. Ray Moon goes down by the hands of Sayori, but it's not enough. It's 4 members down by GG. Nicolette is all that's left as Navi MY cleans up shop. Aria comes back out, but I don't think it's enough. You got a minion waves coming in. Navi MY might just end this off. The final slash might look pretty, but it's not enough as the throne will get taken out. Navi MY, that's a first victory.
Almost as quickly as it began, it came to an end. A single strike surgically placed into the heart of their opponents as Navi MY claims game number 1. Definitely some things that needed to be worked on by Gaming Gladiators there. The start of the game looked really good, looked really clean, but they found it difficult to adapt as the game went on, and the flexibility coming out of Navi was what won them out in the end. Let's go ahead and bring Mr. Leo back onto the desk. What did you think about game 1, sir? Oh, is he back yet?
One day.
And
that day's the day.
You gotta have an epic entrance.
How was your nap, Leo?
I did not nap.
I'm just kidding.
I watched the game. You know I was close to you like your shadow. I would say GG had a great draft.
Yes.
Very rarely do you get the likes of an Arlott, a Kalia, a Kimmy, a Fredrin. I'm just naming all the heroes, right? On the same lineup, but here, all right, we're going to be seeing the highlights in just a bit, right?
Yep.
I think on paper, what was happening was they just did not know how to use their resources. And Navi punish them hard for that.
I agree with you, because in these first few fights, Gaming Gladiators was doing a great job. They were taking fights slowly, adapting to the situation, spacing out their crowd control to pick off members. But then as the game went on, there was a sort of unnecessary desperation to make something happen on the map, even though they could arguably wait and scale.
Yep, they put a lot of pressure on Redmond. And how many times was that they killed Redmond? Like 3 or 4 times? How many more times did Redmond get away with it? And I think that's where the frustration builds up, which eventually leads to them being scattered on the map. And I get how they got to this position. I watched it minute by minute, beat by beat. This is not looking good for GG and Navi. They just know how to punish hard. They knew how to slip between the cracks and end quickly. What was that? Less than 12?
Yeah, I think it was like 13 minutes.
The first Lord, anyways.
About 13?
Around
Around 13 minutes.
Yeah, sleeping is a 14-minute. But I do have to say there are some patterns that Gaming Gladiators actually brought out. The first is that they work better if they are in a defensive position. If Navi MY goes in deep into their own jungles, they have what it takes to get a defensive play and try to win on some kills. The second is that Arlott was just way too committal. You know that Arya is going to go for Haney down onto the back lines, but when she does, there's no means of escape. It's do or die.
And this is what I alluded to earlier. Remember when I said, hey, yo, Arya used to be teammates with these ladies from Navi. Would this maybe be a detrimental factor to their approach? Because one might say, oh, this is just misplaced. She was just misplaced, right?
Yeah.
Or she was just too forward. But what if it was aggression? What if it was just like,
What if it was just personal?
we fight now!
There's like a personal issue happening. No,
You know
I
what
don't
mean?
think so.
Bole, we fight now!
I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually think that is the case, as funny as it might be. I feel like the issue for GG this game was that they went into every fight with a checklist. I think they set up a checklist when the draft concluded, where it's Kalea catches the first person in front, Traction pulls him in, locks him down. Arya goes to the backline, cancels Feathered Airstrike. Every single fight, the goal is to do these things.
And if none of these things happen, nothing happens.
Pretty much. The problem is they were going out of their way to make them happen, right? The Arlet was always too far back to cancel Feathered Airstrike.
Quite physically. They were going out of their way, and it was evident. Folks, when I mentioned that they were not using the resources to the best, I think we would better understand this if we checked out the gold distribution. You'll see that the reason why possibly the Harith got away with so much and got bank in him is because of how they played this game, how they managed to put enough pressure on Sayori so that they questioned their mid lane rotations, how they managed to, again, whether it be Arya's fault or Navi's fault to put Arya in such a weird position, led to them missing the roamer for most of the fights. And then that just naturally led to, the subpar gold laner in Harith showing up and, again, uncannily beating the Irithel. Because right now, I think Irithel is number 1. Like, if you get an Irithel to farm up, she is bar none the best gold laner. Like, some would pick her over 1-1. Some would pick her over Granger. But here, Harith shows up.
I think we can set this up very simply. Gaming Gladiators has Fredrin, they have Arlet, they have Kalea. So much crowd control. And it felt like Cao Cao didn't need to use Purify the whole game. Right? Isn't that an issue? That feels like a problem. They were using
because
so many things.
She doesn't show herself until the 10th minute mark, until the first lore of the game, and then they just win it.
I think it's less that she didn't show herself. GG was dealing with this checklist. They were going
exactly.
for the checklist, and the checklist never happened near the gold lane.
Yeah.
It was always just around, like mid, towards the river, but Cao Cao was never in trouble. Like, I think that's one of the main reasons. It was like, they were so focused on this specific set of things that they needed to do, they didn't get to do that. Next thing they know, it's too late. Cao Cao's online.
And even worse, if they do that, they don't have any resources left for them anyway, right? Because you're using all your big ultimates, all your catches on the front line or canceling the Pharsa. What do you have left for the Harith, right? And even if you use the Purified, then you need something else. You have so much crowd control, but you're not distributing it the correct way.
We'll check out in the highlights once more what this exactly means, how it translates in-game as we run through this very, very swift matchup. Game 1 was, 13 minutes, you reckon?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's around 13 minutes. Arya actually had nice plays, but she's only used very sacrificially as a setup. There are some nice escapes from Arya, but she's not a main target as well. And the fact of the matter is, for Navi MY, they layered in their heroes very well. Reno only came in at the last minute. You have Fafao only coming in at the last minute, but for GG, they're throwing everything onto the three members.
That's
Shaw,
right.
Haney, Ramoon was always there in any of the clashes. So take a look at this. Sariori goes in without any vision onto the back line, and when Ara actually commits that dash, there's no means of escape.
Yeah. They were basically proposing on the first date.
Yeah. Just look at how awkward. Literally, look at how awkward they're standing back there thinking, what do we do? Do we enter? Do we back off? Do we... Like, there's question marks happening over the heads of GG, and as the game kept going, they kept trying to do the same thing or forcefully attempting something different, which wasn't necessarily something they were prepared for.
If y'all were to name an MVP, like just off the top, who would it be? Navi MY. I'm gonna...
I think either Rina or Fafal, but
Okay. I'd say Trina.
you say Rina?
I'd say Trina. It's very straightforward for Fafal to get to that point.
Because Rina gave her that space.
Exactly. Rina was hunting down Sayori. Rina was compromising Ashley's entry because just in the highlights, what was that? Twice now you saw Ashley overextend, try to get somebody good, but it always just ends up being Remun. And Remun was doing her job well, just like, just get me, just get me.
Pull out all the resources, taunting even more, and then the last second,
AOG out of here.
I think
Genius.
many members of Navi were honestly doing a good job. Raymond was great. You know, Gatot is specifically very good for these situations. You get caught, you AOG out. I would give it to Rina, but there were actually some Lancelot plays in the first few minutes that I felt like were a bit sloppy.
Hey,
so.
she's just getting warmed up. What are you
Yeah,
saying,
that's
man?
true.
But
That's
did she
possible.
die, though?
She didn't die.
She didn't die.
So we'll still give it to that. I would personally pick Hani, actually. I think the Farsa, the feathered airstrikes, forcing them out of position every single time, even though it didn't do the most damage, made a big impact.
All right, so definitely these are must-watches for GG. As we go into the draft, I had gotten word that the draft is nearly upon us. I do see the ladies back to their battle stations. So Coach Rexvin, Coach Aish are going to be playing once again a game of chess to set these ladies up for combat. Besides the Lancelot, besides the Farsa, I think these are the two spotlight heroes for Navi MY. Any other picks that maybe GG should watch out for? Maybe that Gatot. Maybe the trade for the Gatot and Kalia wasn't as straightforward as we
first
thought.
pick Arlot, I don't think that would be
There
a
you
very
go.
viable option.
Switch the priorities.
Switch the first pick Arlot. I think try to suss out what your opponents want. I think if Phobius would have been a much better choice as well. At least you're able to disrupt that back line more effectively. You can soak in more damage and you're healing everything back up.
Fight the Harith better.
Fight the Harith better. The only trade-off is you don't really have a loose member down on the side lane priority. So I guess that's what they want to go for. But I think putting Arya in a first pick position and you're playing against your old team is like, okay, I know Arya's gonna first pick this one. Now this is how they're gonna play. You're playing right into their books. You're falling into their traps.
I agree. I can definitely see that because Arlette is actually not too bad as a first pick, but it's always risky to pick EXP lane early, right? Because this is one of the most what's the word I'm looking for? A lane that can be very versatile, yes. This is a very versatile lane. This is a lane that affects the game very heavily depending on how that matchup goes. So picking a hero early, you need to make sure that it's able to make an impact no matter what.
Yeah, it's versatile. Weirdly enough, meta-wise, I think XP lane now is versatile in purpose, but not in hero pool. It's one of the most shallow hero pools I've seen in a while. Maybe only second to mid.
Yeah.
Because who's really in the XP lane right now?
Lapu.
Top tier. Lapu.
Uranus.
Always banned.
Always banned out.
So it's Lapu, Arlott, Phovius, CC. Glue. That's it.
That's it. Maybe on the off chance, sometimes you pick up the Yuzhong, but we haven't seen that yet.
We've been alluding to the Yuzhong.
Tamasha is very situational.
My eyes are on these ladies and the coaches. Come on. Rexvin, Midnight, Aish, you have to do this now. Like, no debuts. I wish that was an actual Mia ban. Like, I was hoping that was real. It's like, what do they know about the Mia? We don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been scrimming in the Malaysian server, so they've definitely met a couple of times before the EWC main stage. So, if Mia is actually banned out, I think I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. I would be like, oh, it's kind of interesting.
I would be shocked.
I know you would be.
I think I would be pretty shocked. And I see Mia in all my Pubs games.
what rank are we playing exactly? That's dangerous. I'm worried for you than anything else. But folks, do let us know exactly who you think is going to be winning. Wherever you're watching Stream B from, welcome. Once again, we are smack dab in the middle of this best of 3, the opener to the MWI 2025. This is a Group B matchup between Navi Malaysia and Gaming Gladiators. Again, just a quick refresher on the format. There are 4 groups. GSL format each, and the top 2, meaning they won 2 series, regardless of how many losses, makes it through to the knockouts. Anybody who loses 2 is knocked out. So this is what? Navi MY 1 game away from being halfway there to qualifying for the knockout stage.
Yeah, but honestly though, we talked about this backstage. This is a matchup of the day for a reason, and I'm actually gunning to see 2-1s coming up from both teams. Maybe the first game is like, I just woke up, there's a little bit of a time difference, and I'm adjusting to my jet lag, and I think this might be coming through.
It has been about 48 hours since these ladies have landed, but that's more than enough time to make up for it, given that Game 2 is upon us. Here we go. Churros, Staffa, take care of business.
Thank you, sir. We will catch up with Leo after this game. Will it be the end of the series, or will we be going to a game number 3? Gaming Gladiators now under the spotlight to see whether or not they can adjust their strategies to deal with Navi Malaysia. They have swapped sides, so they're going to be on the opposite sides of the draft this time around. Navi going to be banning out the Badang, the Gatot themselves, as well as the 1-1, whereas the Uranus and Yi Sun Shin will be taken out on the red side.
Apart from the heroes, pretty much similar from the first game. But take a look at the girls on both sides of the table. You have Navi MY actually feeling very confident, very calm and composed, but you have a lot of focus, very locked in kind of phases coming in from GG. So from both these two teams, I guess they have a different way of locking in. For Navi MY, it's just another game. It's just another game. But okay, coming back to the draft, GG actually bans out that R-Lot, possible EXP shallow pick, but now the Boxia getting first pick up by Navi. So take a look at a lot of the Enchanter and support heroes for the side of GG. You want to deny that from coming in. Granger getting picked up here by Panda as well.
Very interesting choice to go for the Granger here. Still an okay goal lane pick, but definitely not nearly as strong as before. Though we've already been proven that strength of the hero doesn't really play the biggest role, since Navi already won game 1 with a Harif, which we all thought was just out of the meta entirely at this stage. Granger will provide some good poking potential and is a good way of whittling down a hero like Baxia from afar, but you're still going to need a solid front line to be able to stop it, and I don't know if I agree on Kalea.
Actually, GG likes to just play that front-to-back, that traditional front-to-back kind of composition. So we talked about Selena as well. Navi MY actually picking that up for the mid lane, but might be flexed up into maybe even the jungle, because you still have the buff from the previous patch where Selena can play in the jungle. So a little bit more flexibility there. You might even throw Selena in the roam position. It might be a possibility as well. But they are going to pick up the Irithel. And like Leo said, I do agree with him where Irithel is one of the better marksmen to pick in this meta, just because of how mobile she is. You can dash away from the Death Sonata as well, so it makes it harder for Panda to deal her shots. And it's a very greedy lineup right now with Hayabusa and the Granger coming to play from GG. Both of them actually need so much more farm to come online.
Ooh, this is risky here. Like you mentioned, Churros, Haya and Granger both need items, both need farm to really start making things happen. Granger can afford to play a little bit safer, but Hayabusa needs early snowballing, and the Baxia is not an easy target for you to take down. Selena could be an option, but part of the reason why the hero was good before was also because of the map vision that it's able to provide you with those abyssal traps, right? You just set them up around, you make sure that you always have vision over where your opponents are going to be. Right now, I'm not too sure how I feel about Gaming Gladiators draft, but we will see how it comes as we jump into the second phase of bans.
GG banning out the Ling as well as the CC. You don't want to deal with that up on the EXP side, but on the side of Navi MY, taking out the Chusin, I think the Zetian hasn't seen the light of day just as of yet. They might think of taking it out, and then you play a little bit more vision, because right now you're facing up against the Selena. Once you have the Selena traps around you, give your team a little bit more vision control, and I think Zetian would be a viable possibility to pick up just to deny that vision play.
I can see that. Right now, I'm very curious about the CC ban. Banning CC here indicates that GG probably wants to lock in their EXP lane as the 4th pick after the bans conclude. But what hero would really be prioritized here?
Pharsa. You got a Pharsa wide open, creates a lot of pressure in space, but then
It's
you
vulnerable to Selena
have
and
3 vulnerable
Baxiato.
heroes. Yeah.
Like, banning out CC. Usually you'd ban out CC against Uranus. Uranus is already banned. Phoveus, but not very good against Navi right now. Glue, but
wanna suss out
also
Lapu?
not very... Lapu is probably the most likely EXP option, but if GG wants it, they need to lock it in now because
That's
there's
right.
a chance Navi steals it away. They go for Zetian.
Yeah. It's more of a passive play, doesn't do a lot of damage, and we talked about this yesterday as well when we were like discussing about the viability of Zetian. It's basically used as a utility mage. You want to give a little bit more vision on the Fury of the Phoenix, but as well as maybe try to set things up together when Ashley goes in with a Kalea, you throw down your Fury of the Phoenix, maybe you can get a little bit more burst damage when you have that Venn diagram, the circles coming in and integrating it together. So Lancelot will be picked up once again. Right now, I think much easier target onto this Granger, but then chasing Granger is not what you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but it's still something that you can do, especially now when you look at GG's draft. They have a lot of backline, right? Zetian and Granger are generally going to be quite vulnerable since most of the time, Kalea is going to be trying to set up for a pickoff in the first place. So they would be quite vulnerable to a hero like Lancelot, especially when you also consider the lack of crowd control on GG right now. They need CC, they need a strong hero that can form a secondary front line that can protect the Granger and the Zetian if the Kalea goes in front. The Glue already going to be taken away by Navi as well, a hero that's very good at diving. And this is just straight up a dive comp from Navi, which is exactly what they need.
It's easier for them to layer it in onto the Zetian as well. Baxia rolls himself in, tries to break that the passive shield, and then Rena just comes right in from that flank, tries to swoop her up from the back. So I think that might be a little bit of a risky situation that they have to play around, but they go back to basics and Terizla getting picked up.
Terizla. Alright, I can see that being quite good. It is a very strong matchup into the Glue as well, since you are going to be able to lifesteal off of all the individual Goos, but also a very slow and bulky hero. Not to mention Penalty Zone is not the strongest form of crowd control in the game.
It's easier to dash out of penalty zone as well.
There are so many heroes on Navi's side that can just completely ignore Terizla and drive their backline.
So what is the thought process here for GG? They do have 2 greedy heroes, a utility mage, not a lot of damage in the early game. Do they play late game? Is there a way for Nicolette to hyper-focus onto a main target? And who is the main target?
The ideal for GG is to play for early to mid game. If they can get early snowballs into the Hayabusa, that would be the most ideal. Maybe put a bit more pressure onto the Terizla to immediately unlock him from the side lane and allow him to join you, rotating and potentially invading the jungle. But that is a lot of checkboxes that they're gonna have to tick off here. We're jumping into game number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Gaming Gladiators currently 1 game down against Navi Malaysia. Can they bring it all the way?
Pressure is definitely on for GG. 1 more game and Navi just takes it all, especially since, you know, you won 2 games win and you're in, and it doesn't look too good in the group stages. And on the bottom side, you have Sayori, immediate rotation down the bottom side, try to get enough pressure and try to get Panda to win out that lane. Ashley trying to draw a little bit of attention onto themselves and holding onto the mid side.
I like the early rotation from Sayori. Like I already mentioned, going to help out the Terizla early is going to be good.
Ooh. Way too much damage taken. Very risky play from Ashley. The turret shots actually brought her down from almost full health to down low. Arya taking a little bit too much damage. Swipe and flicker out of the way. There's a crucial resources wasted for Gaming Gladiators. Right now, they're being on the aggressive too early. Haney. Getting the stun up, might not be able to hit Sayori, and Sayori gets out safe for now. But you can totally tell that a lot of aggression coming in from Gaming Gladiators. Is that how they want to play against Na'Vi?
I think it is, but you ideally need a bit more lane control before you're able to do it. The goal is to get as many kills onto Nicolette as possible, because that's going to be this... Oh, hold on, gold lane.
A 1v1 Panda will not be able to finish the job. The turret minion's still there, but able to push Fafao back onto play. That buys her some time onto the gold lane. Turtle has already been spawned up. Sayori already popped that shield, and that was the job of Raymond. So what is the play now for Gaming Gladiators? Will they be able to contest for this one? Reno will snap pick that turtle up, and Gaming Gladiators playing on the passive. Top side though, Nicolette comes in, swoops in, takes out Fafao, draws a little bit of attention onto herself as Na'Vi rotating upwards. But Sadafa, this is looking much better for Gaming Gladiators. They have a pickup composition. They're playing it to their strengths.
Yeah, that was the correct play. 100% the correct play. Arya was not even level 4 at the time Na'Vi was contesting the turtle, so there's no way they can take a team fight there. Go to the opposite side of the map instead and help out your gold laner. Plus, get an assist onto Nicolette. That is exactly what they needed to do, and then they back it off to make sure they do not overcommit the way they did in game number 1. So that allows them to get a slight goal lead. I think Gaming can continue playing around this sort of situation. They actually have a good amount of mobility, so if they play the map and just avoid fights against Na'Vi early, that might actually be a win con.
Yeah, Panda just playing a little bit more safe, trying to draw their attention away from the turret range. Seeks out where Ramoon is, and they're losing their gold plate turret up top. You got a Tsunami Slam onto Haney, unable to finish the job as Nicolette tries her best. Will not be able to land the shadows just in time though. Shadow kill will not be enough. Revitalize keeps her up safe. On the top side though, they're trading the turrets. T1 is down for Gaming Gladiators. Man, Na'Vi MY just looking for trades left, right, and center. The macro game is what Gaming Gladiators need to eye around.
I'm loving the way that Raymond is playing around this Baxia right now. Really maximizing the capabilities of the hero, of being a very fast rotating early frontline tank, keeping herself in a place where you can either back up the top lane if Gaming decides to go for a full dive, or help out Hani in case Nicolette shows up on the opposite side of the map, which in this case, the latter actually happened, and the Revitalize was able to keep the Selena alive. Na'Vi MY is well aware that the less resources they give the Gaming early, the easier it'll be for them to take control of that mid game, because that is where their heroes really start coming online.
Ooh, risky play from Ashley, diving in, forcing a flicker out of the way as Shaw tries to get too deep. Ashley getting hit on by 3. You got a penalty zone already committed. There's a 3-man stun. Shaw hit the mark right on Gaming Gladiators, putting all of them down. Sayori's next on the chopping block, but won't be able to hit that mark. But did you see that, Sadafa?
I did definitely see that, and that was a beautiful play coming in from Na'Vi MY. Did you know, Churros, Fafao is interested in fashion design, you know? Because that was a work of art right there. From Na'Vi MY. Gaming Gladiators made a huge mistake. They already lost Arya. There was no reason for Ashley to try and force a flicker catch. And then the rest of their backline walked up to back her up and instantly got 3-man stunned by the glue of all things. They cannot keep doing this, Churros.
It was 4-man, and Sayori already popped that shield because Raymond was actually on her back. And Sayori needs to be able to find a way to play a little bit more passively. Right now, you don't really have a lot of damage. Over the wall they go. You got Rena actually dashing, weaving, bopping away. As Gaming Gladiators, they're falling. Sayori goes down as Rena tries to come in for the counterattack. Zarya next to fall as Ashley unable to watch her children stay alive in this small little skirmish. And as I said, Gaming Gladiators, they had a much better round in the early game, but they are struggling when it comes down to the mid. Nicolette able to dash and weave, bop out of the way. It's Na'Vi MY ramping up the aggression onto GG.
Honestly, though, I feel like we are starting to see this game go down the exact same path as before. We can see here in the instant replay,
Thorn Rose
they
on
tried
the
to go
mark.
in on the lance, but look at how much damage the Thorn Rose does, and then the instant Abyssal Arrow follow-up. The communication from Na'Vi MY is on point, and when Panda's already backing off, the rest of GG is just hovering there very awkwardly. They need to decide.
Another Abyssal Arrow. Zarya taking a little bit too much damage. She will fall, but hands off a foul. It's just feeding that Earth up so much. 5,000 gold lead for Na'Vi MY, and they're looking for all these turret trades. Nicolette versus Rina is 1v1, able to dash out of the way though. Is Nicolette use their shadows though. Na'Vi MY, they have their eyes set on these turrets.
Looking at the items right now, there is a very clear advantage going over to Na'Vi. They're already at nearly a 5k gold lead, and TQ is going to be the first item for Sha. Very wise choice, since most of the damage coming in from Gaming Gladiators is going to be physical. Only Hunter Strike completed so far on both Nicolette and Panda. Even trying to go for that Sky Piercer, second item on the Granger. It is a key item build, but not sure if this is the right game to go for it. I also might dislike the War Axe first choice for Aria. You need bulkiness now. That damage is not going to help you.
Sadafa, if you're GG, what is your game plan right now? Do you go for the team fights? Do you try to play more defensively or passively, try to just let that give up all of their turrets? They do have a little bit of high ground, especially from Panda and Sayori, so it might not hurt them for them to stay huddled and turtled up on their base.
You literally have no choice but to either turtle or try and play risky to go for map farm. And it looks like they are going for the latter, sending Panda down bottom to get minions.
They can't take out the T1 bottom
Na'Vi
side.
is just rushing the base.
Okay. Aria taking a little bit too much damage, able to force that flicker out of the way. Sorori comes in for a backup, try to push them out of the way. Gaming Gladiator is able to zone Na'Vi out just for now. Abyssal Arrow misses by a hair. They might not want to go for this counter re-engage. Not a lot of damage from the Shadow Kills. Nicolette dashes out with the shadows. As Gaming Gladiators, they're struggling to keep up.
We have reached the point of the game where Gaming Gladiators just straight up has no damage. They do nothing to the members of Na'Vi MY unless they're somehow able to jump on Hani. Otherwise, you are going to tickle Sha and Ramon most of the time, and Na'Vi MY is more than aware of this. It's so easy for them to dive. And we talked about this during the draft, right? There's a lot of heroes on Na'Vi that can just ignore the Terizla and go for the backline, but they're so farmed at this point that the Terizla is basically a pebble on their path that they're kicking aside. They don't need to ignore him because to them, Aria no longer exists.
Ooh. Nice Abyssal Arrow. They might not be able to have that damage to follow up. It's Ashley getting possessed on by that stick. Oh man, Sha will be able to stop her in her tracks and take her down the way. Gaming Gladiator is still up on 1 kill. Nicolette has that shadows to dash out of the way, but they're waiting by that shadows. They don't know that Nicolette is running away, but they're making a beeline for it. There's a silver arrow and there's a huge red mark at the back as Nicolette slowly walking and prancing all the way as Rina, oh man, that's 2 levels ahead. I don't think she'll be able to survive this.
Even on Rina, you can see the Oki Shadow Kill barely does anything. Even though Nicolette is buying a lot of time, there's not enough map control for the rest of Gaming Gladiators to do anything with the space created. Nicolette goes down. Somehow they pick up Aria as well, who's hovering around the Lord Pit.
Very dire situation from Gaming Gladiators. Now they don't have their jungle. They can't contest for this Lord. It's Na'Vi MY taking full control of game number 2.
Messy. I am seeing a lot of messy plays. Really, no reason for Aria to be that far out. Your jungler is getting chased down across half the map, and the rest of your team is not going to be able to back you up. Give up the Lord. Try to get farm wherever you can. And the more and more we see, the worse and worse it gets. We are looking at an 8,000 goal lead for Na'Vi MY. 3 items now concluded on Faufa, with that Berserker's Fury holding up the rear. Brute Force Breastplate allowing Rina to be more tanky. Ramon once again focusing on that Dreadnought armor just to make it even more difficult for the Haya and Granger to actually make any sort of impact.
All of the members of Na'Vi, they're at least 1 level ahead. You got Abyssal Arrow already stuck in. Sha trying to go in with the stick and split onto the fray. As Aria goes down once again. Gaming Gladiators has to deal with the Lord on the top side as well as the skirmish down the mid side. As everything goes wild, it's chaos in the land of Dawn, especially in the home of GG. There's nothing they can do. But they're going to play more defensively as they don't have that damage to take anyone down.
I'm sorry, Gaming Gladiators. This game is over. There is literally nothing you can do anymore at this point. You have no
They're
damage.
They're gonna make you eat your words.
There is no chance.
Be careful.
It literally is no chance. I'll tell you right now. I would normally say you need a miracle to happen for this to turn around. This has gone beyond that point, in my opinion.
11,000 gold lead,
It is
man.
that dire.
Not looking so good for Gaming Gladiators. don't really have that damage to get on that defense. I think the only silver lining is only if Gaming Gladiators turtle down for at least another 10 more minutes, try to equalize the level difference that Navi MY has ahead of Gaming Gladiators. Out of all of this, the only kill that they had was Nicolette down on that top side.
Yeah, this is very, very difficult. This composition required very specific conditions to be met in order to be effective, and they've not found that.
Here, the Phoenix already committed. Rina able to dash out of the way, but they cannot finish the job. On the top side, though, they're trying to buy some time as Nicolette tries to use their Shadow Kill, try to push everyone out of the way, but with one cannon minion and one for foul right on that base, that is a huge chunk of damage that has already been taken out from that T3 on that bottom side.
Navi MY showing the world right now how much they have improved since their last stint in MWI. This is really clean macro. The decision making is so effective. When they saw Arena getting jumped by 3 members up top, the instant decision is to go for the push down bottom, maybe pick off Nicolette if they're lucky. They weren't, but they still are able to create the pressure they're looking for. And now there is lane manipulation happening to maybe bait GG out in advance as the Lord is going to respawn.
They're playing on the opposite side of the map, though. Lord spawning up in 3 seconds as Gaming Gladiators tries to get enough priority over their own jungle, picking up all that scraps. It doesn't look like they want a contest for this Lord. They can't, and this is the 12-minute Lord that we're talking about, Sadafa. Gaming Gladiators turtling up once again. Shaw is actually keeping them busy, getting a little bit more vision, tries to get herself latched on to Ashley. Might be able to do that. Fear of the Phoenix will miss all of their targets, though, as Aria goes in deep with the penalty zone, forcing to use that flicker out of the way again, as Ashley getting possessed onto it. Some foul will take Ashley out of the game.
Aria gonna be picked off as well. Mega kill going over to Rina as Hani chases down Nicolette. 1v1 monster kill. 5 members of Navi MY rush down the Crystal of GG.
Up against 2, there's no way that GG will be able to defend against this rush in the battle of Malaysia versus North America. Malaysia takes this not as a game, but as a statement.
A statement has been made, has been published, has been edited, and put out in full blast.